Hey, it's Monday night, 8 p.m. Hello, YouTube and Facebook Live. This is Dialogue with Dozie. We apologize for the tardiness. I'm double dipping for a few minutes of tonight's program. I am attending a mandated webinar which pertains to Florida's immigration laws and the laws that are being broken by ICE and other law enforcement agencies. Rounding up immigrants, and so I'm monitoring it visually. Audibly, but I'm here with you right now. Okay, welcome along. Tonight is one of the most. I don't know how to feel about the night. It's you could say it's nostalgia if it was not so deadly. Such a deadly time period in our lives, and we're looking back at the year 2025. We're looking back at the year 2020, and this is part one of it tonight. Next Monday night, we're going to look at part two, and tonight you're going to see a lot of the social justice things that we would normally have not here. Toya, would you put the post up 1 second, please? And thank you. And I'm going to be speaking to you 1 second off camera. I'm missing a device with all of this that we have going on, double dipping, but I just want you to know that on tonight, we're going to look at the timeline of 2025, of 2020. I keep saying 2025 is 5 years afterwards. Tonight we're just going to look at the timeline and the incidents and everything that transpired, and we're going to look at 3 pivotal incidents in depthly. Next week we're going to look in depthly at all of the social justice or social injustice issues that we're dealing with. I hate to ask you, but give me 1 second. 1 second. I'm going to apologize for this discombobulation. We have time to cover all of our bases on Monday nights, but this last minute emergency conference necessitated. This last minute conference necessitated me being, it took some of our time, and I'm unable to find a very needed device. We're going to try to work through it while I continue on. So tonight we're going to look at three major events, but we're going to consider a timeline. So we're going to consider a timeline, but we're going to look at 3 major events. And those events are, now I've lost my lighting. What's up with that? Well, I seem to have having mechanical problems with my light now, so I'm going to be looking dull. Maybe we can fix some of these things back at the break. I don't know what has transpired here. So we'll make it. I hope you can see me. At least you can hear me at least. So I apologize for the lack of lighting. That just happened just a second ago. So we're going to be looking at the social justice ramifications. I really need the light. I hope you all can see me. We're going to be looking at the social justice ramifications of 2025 more in depthly on next week. This week, we're going to look at a timeline. We're going to look at the pandemic. We're going to look at the awful plane crash that occurred in 2020, in January of 2025. And we're also going to look at the presidential elections and those results and all of the craziness that pertain to that. So get on with us as we getting off to a rough start, but just roll with us. I don't know what's going on here. Maybe my light has just decided to down, and we'll see. So I've got to really regroup here to pull a lot of things together. Like I say, on Monday nights, I really protect this, but tonight, with all of the craziness that's going on with Florida's immigration situation, I was not able to control not being in attendance for this immigration package that we're dealing with. So I'm really gonna need my, I can't find my phone, and it's because I'm having problems with my other device and it's recording this. Let's see. So in order to even get the timeline or see anything, I'm really going to need to have my phone, which I can't let's do this. Let's take a 2-minute break. Let's just take a 2-minute pause, and I'll be right back. Just stay with me, please. Just stay right there with me, and we'll be back in 2 minutes. Thank you. The heck going on? Okay, we're going to try. I don't know. I got multiple issues going on technically, but we're going to try to continue and complete tonight's show so that we stay on schedule for this retro look back at 2025. Let me know if you can't see me. This is not my. This we apparently lost my lighting, and along with some other things. But I do have. So first, let's look back at the year that was 2025. The year that was the year. I keep saying 2025. This is 2025. The year that was 2020. Let's take a look back at it, and let's just take a broad sweep, and then we're going to come back. It was one of the most in my lifetime, because there was another year, and on next week's show, we're going to contrast 2020 with that year. But this was one of the most catastrophic and chaotic and just one of the craziest years. I hate to use anything that the Lord made to call it crazy, but it was one of the most different years that we had ever faced. Let me paint a broad sweep. And again, well, I apologize for the lighting. I don't know what has happened to it. It is going out. I have to replace that. So in COVID, as you know, 2020 was the year that COVID hit us and we lived through a pandemic. What I want to do is first just go over the calendar, just look at the whole year, and then we're going to come back and we're going to focus on three incidents that are three vital things that were a part of the year. So let's look at, hit the whole year, and then we're going to come back. On January 7th, the first case of pneumonia was noted in China that it seemingly had a different strand to it over in China on January 7th. On January the 20th, the first case of COVID hit the United States. On January the 20th, we incurred the first case of COVID. It did not say anything about there were not any deaths, but the first case occurred on that fateful Sunday of January the 26th. January, I'm having a hard time just even maintaining my timeline. On January the 26th, one of the saddest things that will have occurred, Kobe Bryant, along with his daughters Giannis and 7 other people perished in a helicopter crash in Southern California. Kobe was actually had left a worship service and with his daughter, and they were going to a basketball game. Kobe turned out to be one of the greatest girl dads there were, and he was going to a facility that he had pretty much funded, and a helicopter crash occurred. We're going to come back and talk about that. February 2nd, we had there was a Super Bowl. The Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl, and it was the first normal Super Bowl, the last normal Super Bowl for a while that allowed people to sit in the stands. The Chiefs would win that Super Bowl. Then on January the 19th, the first COVID death occurs here in America. The first COVID death occurs in America. By March 11th, this thing had taken root all over the country, all over the world, and had been officially listed as by the World Health Organization, had been listed as a pandemic. COVID-19 was officially named and listed as a pandemic. March the 13th, we're going to talk in depthly about this on next week. Police were serving, going in and to a person's house without a warrant, and we'll talk more about it next week. And when Breonna Taylor was gunned down by Louisville police in her house while she was asleep. They came into their house, and her boyfriend apparently engaged them because not knowing who it was, and she tragically was killed. That would set off year-long protests in the city of Louisville. We had Pastor Arkin on, and we talked about how they ministered to the people who were there in Louisville. That was back at the end of March. We'll never forget. Will never forget this. On May the 28th, Minneapolis police, Derek Chauvin, put his knee on the neck of George Floyd and literally choked him to death. This was on May the 28th. That's the date that I'm pretty familiar with. And all of the protests between the Breonna Taylor and I think I may have missed that the murder of Ahmaud Arbery had occurred by vigilantes who saw him coming out of a house, and they killed him. And so protests were breaking out all over America, much like 1968. And next week we'll see some of the footage of some of those protests. On June the 5th, a new protest organization has really taken root. It's called Black Lives Matter. And the mayor of Washington, D.C. declares a section of that called Black Lives Matter Plaza. And we'll be seeing more and more of that as we go along. Along the way, the president at the time, Donald Trump, tried to get the National Guard to intervene, but the local authorities did not bring them in. However, he did use Secret Service and other federal authorities to go and to stop the protests in the city of Washington, D.C., so that he could go walk across from the White House, almost across the mall, and go to a Presbyterian church. In what was an ill-conceived photo op, he holds up, thinking it's a Bible, it was a song book, and he held it upside down because it was said that the protests were interfering with activities there at the church, and he went to make a stand. He had desired to shoot people who were protesting, and he was advised by some of his close advisors that you cannot shoot people, and that would actually be a horrific thing to be seen on TV, shooting protesters going back to Kent State in those days. And so that didn't happen. So that's why you had the Black Lives Matter thing to go up. On August the 20th, Kamala Harris was the first woman of color to appear on a national ticket. She was the first woman of color to appear on a national ticket when Joe Biden selected her at the Democratic convention as his running mate to oppose Donald Trump as president in the November election. Sadly, on August the 28th, we lost one of our greatest actors. He was a very promising young actor in the person of Chadwick Boseman, who died of colon cancer on the 28th of August. I'm telling you, we had a lot of things happen. And a lot of things happen. So this was not a normal presidential debate. The debates usually the presidential election season takes full season after both of the conventions, and it was a lot of campaigning. Joe Biden was not doing in-person campaign. A lot of campaigns took place virtually, and for the few appearances, they would be outside, and people would be in their cars, and they would be almost like in the old drive-in theaters. I don't know if you all remember that, where speakers were out and people could hear the speaker speak, but those were very, very, very limited, and it caused President Trump to refer to Biden as Sleepy Joe, because it said you got an old man sitting in his basement trying to campaign and run for president. On September 18th, at age 87, Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed. She had been asked to step down before her illness took full effect so that President Obama, before leaving office, could replace her. But if you remember, at that time, the president of the Senate, Mitch McConnell, held up a Senate confirmation for Merrick Garland, who was nominated by President Garland for President Obama for the Supreme Court, and he nominated her in the spring of 2016, and Mitch McConnell held up. This was unprecedented. He held up her seat, that selection. He wouldn't take it to the Senate for confirmation until the election. Nobody anticipated that Trump would win in 2026, but he held it up for just that crazy possibility, which turned out to be more than a crazy possibility. That's exactly what it was. So now that seat, which would have even the Supreme Court have brought it more together, was closed off, and then with Ruth Wendy, hello, with Ruth Bader Ginsburg dying, it stacked the Supreme Court to the far right, because now they had two people. On September 23rd, and we'll talk more about this next week, the Kentucky grand jury brought charges against the police and held them responsible for the shooting death of Breonna Taylor back in May. October the 1st, our president held out against all safety regulations because he did not want to shut down the economy, particularly on an election year, while he was being, by our CDC, the World Health Organization, everybody else was telling him, you got to take this thing. This thing could be catastrophic. We could lose many hundred thousands of people, which we eventually did. He reluctantly, the last couple of months leading into the election, began to shut things down. On October the 1st, both he and his wife tested positive for COVID-19. Sources close to the president would later say, after he had left office, that his case of COVID was far more serious than the American people ever knew, that he had a serious case of COVID. By this time, remember, people are beginning to die of COVID-19, and it's becoming more and more prevalent. New York City, some larger cities, unfortunately and sadly, you will see refrigerated trucks in the streets near hospitals because of the hundreds and hundreds of thousands who were dying, and morgues were being over flooded, and you were seeing bodies being taken out and put in refrigerated vehicles outside of the hospitals. Okay. On November the 3rd, President Trump attempted to hold off the presidential election. You had mail-in voting became more and more prevalent. There were drop-off boxes to avoid people coming in contact for in-person voting, and he tried to hold it off, and it did not. That did not happen. On November the 8th, we lost Alex Trebek, the longtime host of Jeopardy. On November the 18th, Pfizer was 95%. They just about completed a vaccine that they thought that could assist in 95% of the deaths, preventing the deaths of COVID-19. They were 95% completed with that. And did I tell us that in November that President Biden on Tuesday night, the election was very close because of the swing states of Pennsylvania primarily, but on that Saturday, the following Saturday, he was confirmed as having won Pennsylvania, and it put him over, and he won the presidential election. On December the 14th, the first COVID-19 vaccinations were given to health workers who were on the front line of dealing with the COVID, with the pandemic. I want to go to a break, and when we come out of break, we're gonna look at some video. Let's go to break. World.com. They got all of your virtual needs. Live, Zoom and StreamYard have become the order of the day since the pandemic, which we're talking about now, and they have got you hooked up. They took me from just getting in front of a Facebook Live camera and took over all of our services, our church services, the dialogue on Monday night. GoGigaWorld.com. They'll do great things for you. Hit them up and let them give you a consultation on all of your virtual needs, web building, all of the sort. GoGigaWorld.com. Check them out. Let them make you look good. I want to. This is Women's History Night, Women's History Month, and I was checked by Pastor Rhonda Thomas a few months ago, who got on me and said that when I said, during Black History Month, I was laying low on the current administration, but I was going to attack him in March. And she jumped all over me. She said, "You're going to take Women's History Month and deal with him." So, you're going to hear some things about him throughout the 3 weeks. That's why I want to stay on schedule tonight, even though we're having all these technical difficulties. But we want to celebrate our women, and we're going to do that. Thankfully, we're not having to dedicate the show to someone whom we lost, as we've had to do the past 3 weeks. But tonight, I want to celebrate. I want to celebrate a young lady who has done awesome things. She is the driving force, one of the driving forces of Go Giga World. And you see that team. I want to just see that whole team. That's Toya, and Nakia and family. Listen, they are GoGigaWorld.com. The work that you see, they do these programs. They do other programs. And we just wanted to shout them out. These are young ladies who had a dream of entrepreneurship. And through entrepreneurship, they have gotten their own company off the ground. And during the pandemic, that's when it was kind of really brought to light. And they have gotten contracts. You saw the end of the commercial, some of the celebrities whose work they produce. And we just want to shout them out. We want to shout our young people out. You don't have to be Susan B. Anthony or Shirley Chisholm or Mary McLeod Bethune, because we have great people right amongst us. We know Toya, who is our daughter, is the mother. She's married and she's the mother of 6. But she makes this Go Giga World. She does a great job at all of the productions they do. You see this show, but they have other shows on Facebook, YouTube, and other platforms. And we just want to shout them out tonight and to say that somebody's watching them and watching the work they're doing, and it's going to incentivize them to start their own businesses. In this season, where a federal job, which was one of the most safest jobs that there was, things like that are being challenged and people are losing those jobs, nobody can take you away from your own company. And ladies, we salute you on Women's History Month 2025. We salute the team of Go Giga World.com, Go Giga World Productions. We just want to salute you all and thank God for you all. Wish you much success in the years to come in the great work that you are doing. That's Toya on the left end, y'all. That's our oldest. Amen. All right. Okay. I also want to doing this little short break. I also we may have to carry some of the things we had planned to do tonight over into next week as we do part 2 of this show. And again, we apologize. We lost our lighting right before we came on. Got some other issues going on, but I'm trying to work through them so that we can continue. Next week, we want to do part 2 of a look back at the year that was 2025. And on the last year, we're going to do some kind of celebration of 5 years of dialogue with Dozie. We may not do the whole show towards it. It may be more dedicated to women's history, but we want to do something to show our Thanksgiving appreciation to all of you who have been with us for 5 years. That's the last. But next week will be part 2 of the year that was 2025. I want to mention this before we go back into the show. And like I said, if we don't finish tonight's part 1, we'll just bleed it over into part 2 next week when we're at full effect. We got everything working. Everything just hit us at the last minute here. An incident occurred on was it Thursday night? No, it was Wednesday night because it was an ESPN game. On Wednesday night, the Los Angeles Lakers were playing the New York Knicks, and LeBron James took it upon himself to confront Stephen A. Smith at half court during the pregame. We want to. Can we see that slide? Do we have the slide of LeBron James and Stephen A? Yes. Sports fans, many of you know about that at this time. You've seen it. LeBron confronted Stephen A and said something to him to the effect of, and he did it. Stephen A had just come off of signing a $100 million deal with ESPN. We were all hoping that deal would get done. We hope we got a few more dollars, but a 20-year, a 5-year, $100 million deal that will give him $20 million a year, and it's going to free him up to do more political things that he does with his podcast and other things, and he will still be primarily the face of ESPN. But LeBron, while he's with his agent and others celebrating having signed that contract, LeBron approached him in half court, and he approached him in a very threatening and a very demeaning fashion. Now, let me just give my own personal commentary. As a guy who's not the smallest guy in the world, I've always, in being in former law enforcement, I was always careful to know that I couldn't do what they call leaning in on people, or when I was talking to somebody, particularly in a negative interaction, my voice couldn't be raised. Anything that would appear threatening, because it's almost as though whatever physical advantages you have over people, you're exerting that onto them. That's certainly what LeBron James did. He approached Stephen A. Smith and said something to him to the effect of, "Keep my son's name out of your M-effing mouth. Keep my son's name out of your M-effing mouth." Now, a little backdrop. Stephen A., and you can see all of the tape. You can go on YouTube. They made quite a profile since that. And you'll see where Stephen A. has spoken out many times about what he sees as LeBron having pushed, coerced, or forced his son into the NBA, on the NBA. It was his being a generational phenomenal talent. LeBron wanted to kind of seal that by being the first father and son to play on the same team. He had, even as his contract was, as he entered his option year approaching the season, he had even put it out there that the team that selected his son, he would want to play for that team so that they could play on the same team. Little background: LeBron, as he's called, LeBron James Jr., played 1 year at Southern California, and he had a mediocre season at best. Certainly, it was not the kind of season that most young men would leave college and put their name in the NBA draft. They would try to play at least a couple more seasons to get their stats up. LeBron, as you know, had the heart issue that had kind of retarded his basketball career at Southern Cal. So last year was supposed to be his come out year, and he was nothing spectacular, nothing that would have gotten NBA scouts normally to spend a draft pick on him. So it was LeBron's coercion that got Bronny drafted by who else? The Lakers, where he had a player option to sign to stay on the team another year. or he could have bolted. And they drafted him. They put him with the big team where he was terrifically ill qualified to be on the basis of his stats, his overall performance. They put on the big team. They played together on the court in one of the first games of the season. After the first week, Bronny was sent down to the G League, which is almost like a minor league for the NBA. And then he's come back up near the end. And he has gotten some opportunities to get on the court and mop-up opportunities and mop-up time, and he has not done anything spectacular. He's been there, but he's done anything spectacular. I wanted to on this series program tonight, I wanted to interject this because I wanted to say that LeBron facing Stephen A, almost bullying him, standing over him. LeBron's got too much money to put himself out there to be sued. So he certainly didn't get physical or intimate, serious physicality. But the fact that he even approached somebody of Stephen A's caliber and mentality, Stephen A kept a level and a cool head and didn't respond to him in a threatening way that could have caused a confrontation. I just want to make the statement that it was I want to use the term P move, but y'all might misinterpret. So I just want to say it was very much a punk move on the part of LeBron James, who has, by all accounts, handled himself very, very, very well. He's positioned himself that one of the greatest sports debates is who's the GOAT, the greatest of all time, LeBron James or Michael Jordan. That has become like a generational thing. Most of us OGs, without a doubt, who've seen them both play, we're going to say Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan had a killer mentality that was not seen by anybody in any sport. And it propelled him, once he could get past the bad boy Pistons, to win 6 championships, two three-peats, and never go to a game 7, which means that he was once he got to the finals, it was never highly contested. He was just that much of a superior talent. Now LeBron, who has won a championship in all 3 venues that he's played in, he's been in 10 championship games. He's won 4. He's lost 6. He's always played well in these championships, except the first one the second one when he was with the Miami Heat. Well, I won't use the term, but he really was not up to par, and the Heat was upset by the Dallas Mavericks. But for the most part, he has done his part to win. He just has been on inferior teams, but he's 4 and 6. And so that debate goes on. We have fun with that. We'll always say Jordan. And Stephen A is one of the ones who says Jordan because he's been around to see both of them play in both of their primes. And I'm sure those kinds of things don't sit well with LeBron James. But that was a punk move on LeBron's case. On LeBron's, if he wanted to have a conversation with Michael Jordan, with Stephen A. Smith about his son, he could have had it in a more private setting. Maverick Carter and his people, his handlers have a pipeline to Stephen A's phone. They could have had a Zoom conference. He could have talked to him one-on-one in the bowels of the crypto arena, crypto.com arena. But for him to face him as he did was just absolutely 100% horrific. And he lost a lot of us lost respect for him. We're seasoned enough that we're not going to throw LeBron away because of one mistake, as we deem it. But we're certainly not satisfied with it. A lot of things we're going to do tonight with part 1, with the technical difficulties we're having, we're probably just going to carry them over into next week, part 2 of the year 2025, because I did want to talk about this issue. And if you have any comments about anything at all, we'll make this the remaining 10 minutes. It'll just be a hot button session, and we'll talk about those. We'll get back and talk a little bit about the year 2020, but we're not going to spend a whole lot of video and stuff tonight with that because the time is at us. But I really wanted to address this. Now, Stephen A. Smith, the next day on First Take, which airs on ESPN at 10 o'clock Eastern time, did not do the teaser for the show talking about it, but it was the second story. And he said that his agent and the people at ESPN, his bosses at ESPN, wanted him to to respond to what had occurred. And so he did. And he did a great job. Just mad respect. You know, we all know Stephen A is pretty braggadocious, and he thinks a lot of Stephen A and all of that stuff. Stephen A said the reason, well, LeBron James is 6'8" and probably 280 pounds, but he said one of the real reasons he didn't get back at LeBron in that pregame setting, in fact, LeBron left the layup line and come over there and have this conversation. He said because he didn't see him as LeBron James, the basketball player, but he saw him as LeBron James, the father. He saw him as LeBron James, the father, and that he saw a father sticking up for his kid. And Stephen A went on to say that he never, not once, had he ever demeaned Bronny James. And with all of the tape that's been pulled up, you won't see that. You haven't seen that. But you do see him making impassioned pleas to LeBron to stop forcing his son on the NBA. And that's basically what it kind of looked like. Now, did LeBron have the cachet and the right to do that? Yes, he did, because what he has meant to the NBA, what he is continuing to mean, he still packs seats wherever he goes, and he's 40 years old. But it was certainly, just to put it in a nutshell, if Bronny James's name was Joe Smith, and he was not LeBron James's son, he would not be in the NBA. As an avid NBA enthusiast, he would not even be in the G League. He would be fighting for playing time and trying to earn his way in college, which is what he really should have done. But the clock was ticking with LeBron's age catching up to him. So Stephen A only said truthful things in trying to keep trying to make a plea to LeBron to get his son, stop pushing his son on the NBA and stop pushing his son, to something that he's really not qualified for, because his skill set at this time does not. And Stephen A was even gracious enough to say that his son might get there, and he has nothing to think that he won't. Well, as a basketball enthusiast, I have not seen anything that shows me that he's going to become that. The guy missed wide open jump shots. He's 0 for 6 in 3-pointers in the league, and all of those are not highly contested. He doesn't have he doesn't average 1 point a game. Now, like I say, he goes into a mop-up time at the end of games, but that's when guys kind of get an opportunity. The Miami Heat has elevated a lot of people who are making big money with other teams now, because they use that wrap-up time to showcase their skills. So I said all that to say that I'm saying LeBron, for you who's raised without a dad and has made all of the right moves, you've been an excellent family man. You've kept your nose clean as a ball player. And the thing that I respect about you, that I never liked about, that I can't say that I liked about Michael Jordan, is that you stood up for social justice issues. When you were down here in Miami, you and Dwayne Wade stood up for the killing of Trayvon Martin, and you kind of led the forces. Wherever you've gone, you made grown man decisions, and when you left, I didn't like the way you did it, the way you did Riley and other things, but I had to respect. You came back, being down 3-1 in a championship series against the ascending Golden State Warriors, and it was a block that you made and a pass that you made that put Cleveland over the banner and brought the first championship to Cleveland in over 40 years. I think that was 2016. And you've just done great things. You've won everywhere you've gone. You've been a good ambassador of the game, for the game, the game that I love so greatly. But that was not your proudest move. Being angry, being frustrated. Remember, this man has a job to do. He has a job to do. And his job is to report sports and be a sports reporter, and he's opinionated, and that's what you look for. That's why he's paid the big bucks he is, because he is so highly opinionated, and he's factual in his information. He spent 20 years as a beat reporter in Philadelphia before going to ESPN or Fox, and then back to ESPN, and so he's just doing. But he never attacked your son, and you almost look like you were like. You demean your son by almost physically intimidating somebody or trying to. I'm a big man, so I know that move that you pull. And so it was a punk move, and I would hope that in the future that you would resort from such, and it wouldn't even hurt if you had a chance to apologize for what you did, because it was bad. Now I want to say this: there have been a lot of, you know how, particularly through AI, how you can see somebody photoshopped, and there has been voice shopped comments where LeBron is allegedly saying why he approached Stephen A. That's not LeBron James talking. You see a picture of LeBron James, you see him moving his mouth. That's not LeBron James' voice saying the things that he's saying, where he's cursing and saying why he attacked Stephen A. You even see a retort from Stephen A. That's not true. That's AI produced. And so please don't give in to that. The only thing that we've heard officially that we can verify was LeBron approaching Stephen A. and then Stephen A.'s retort the next morning on Sports Center. And I think he spoke a little bit about it on his podcast, but he kept it very, very professional. And a man like Stephen A. Smith, I just respect the way he acquiesced basically to LeBron James. Hey, I want to say to our family, as we this is the month we're going to celebrate 5 years of dialogue with Dozie, and of those 5 years, almost all of them, lacking maybe a couple months, have been under the umbrella of Go Giga Productions, Go Giga Creations, Go Giga World. They have just, what you're seeing tonight is not their fault. That's on my end. The lighting went out just as the show started, and we're going to clean all of that up for next week's show, and we're going to do the full look back at 2020. I just gave you a snapshot of it. We've got video that we want to play next week, and we're going to have others on to talk about the year that was. We're going to even compare it to 1968, which was a similar year where you had protests over the Vietnam War. And I want to go back and see if that's the year that the Kent State shootings occurred on the campus of Kent State University, where 4 students were killed by National Guardsmen. But I do know that the streets were just like they were in 2020 all over the country. There were raging protests and marches, and there was violence on both sides by law enforcement, National Guard, and by protesters. During the 2020 George Floyd protests, which not only broke out across this nation, but broke out across the world, you did not see as many. You did not see as much. And there's going to be some political commentary because the guy that's in the White House again now tried to make that a black thing and tried to make Black Lives Matter, who drove some of those protests, tried to make them just like they did the Black Panthers and the Black Muslims back in the and Dr. King back in the Civil Rights Movement, tried to make them communist agents, aggressors, and that's not true. And so next week we're gonna look more at the Kobe Bryant sadness and just kind of look a little bit more at the pandemic, the presidential election, the outcome of that, where the outgoing president lied and said that he didn't lose. And of course, there were court cases, and his getting reelected kind of stopped those from occurring. Just a whole lot of stuff. But 2020 was very close to what 1968 was. The Democratic Convention 68 was held in Chicago, and there were a lot of protests during that whole convention. And there were protests mainly because of the police killings and other killings against Black males in America. Ahmaud Arbery, or Breonna Taylor, which had Louisville almost on lockdown for over a year. Not lockdown, but there were protests almost every night for a year. We may get past Arthur to talk about those. And we're going to just compare the years, and we're going to look back at them and thank God that 5 years later, even though we have that same guy in the White House, we're still trying to press on and make it as a society. Thank you all for putting up with us tonight. Again, I apologize for all that happened. Next week, we're going to do 2020 a look back part 2, which was going to be part 1 and 2 because we didn't get into a lot of part 1. And we'll kind of we will honor our women. Dialogue with Dozie. Thank you all for looking at us. Thank you for being with us. We'll see you next week, and we'll be clean up and polished. Dialogue with Dozie. We out. Thank you.